Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sev Talks Money. If you are interested in tools and tips to build wealth, crush debt, and gain financial freedom, then this is the place to be. We meet here at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time every Sunday afternoon. So come on by and join the party. We have fun while we learn. And today we have another exciting discussion. And I know you're saying, debt payoff is exciting? Yes, because we not only learn, but we have fun while we learn. Today's discussion is around the avalanche versus the snowball method. It's the age old question of which is better. Well, today I am going to be sharing with you some pros and cons of each and which one I prefer and why. And the fact that neither is better. It really depends on your situation. It depends on what it is that you're trying, the goal that you're trying to reach, and what motivates you. So let's dive right in. The first thing is the first one I want to talk about is the avalanche. Well, before I even go to that, to talk about the method, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each. We're going to also talk about factors, things you need to consider. When I said, it depends, we're going to talk about those factors and the things that you need to consider as to why it depends is the response that you would have to look at to determine which one apply. Because personal finance is just that. It's personal. It all depends on what your goals are, what is it that you're trying to achieve, and how are you trying to achieve those goals. So again, it is there are no hard and fast rules. When it comes to personal finance, there are no stake in the ground rules that said this is how it has to be. There's none of that, because again, it's personal finance. Now, before we even start talking about whether you're going to choose the avalanche or the snowball method or some other method, because there are other ways to pay down debt, before we even start thinking about that, I would advise that you have some kind of financial plan. You need to understand why is it that you want to pay down debt as fast as you're wanting to pay it down? What are your goals? Get some of that in place. What is your plan? Do you have a budget? And a budget doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be elaborate. But if you don't know where your money is going, paying off debt is not going to get you where you need to go, because you're going to end up possibly right back where you started. So you need to understand what drives you. How do you handle your money? You need to have a financial plan in place. So you want to make sure you have some guidance. As I say all the time, is if I'm taking a trip and I just get in my car and I just drive and I don't have a destination in mind, I will drive all over the United States. But if I have a plan and a goal, if I'm going to Florida, I know I'm going to get on 285 from where I live. I'm going to get on 75 and I'm going to go all the way to down 75. I'm going to get on 20 and not 20. I'm going to get on the turnpike and then I'm going to get off my exit to get to Orlando, because I have a direction. I have a way that I need to go. If I don't know where I'm going, I'll probably go to New York before I get to Florida from where I am. So that's what a financial plan does. It guides you and it gives you some kind of direction. So paying off debt is only a part of the plan. What is it that I'm trying to achieve, and what are the goals, and why do I want to get where I want to get when I want to get there? So I hope that makes sense. So the first thing we want to start with, hi Kathy, how are you? Thanks for joining us. The first thing we want to start with is the avalanche method. Now, if you think about an avalanche, it's this huge mound of snow that's coming from the mountain or from some high place, and it comes down in a crescendo. And it comes down, and as it gets to the bottom, it flows into a smaller stream of snow. So that's when you think of the avalanche and apply that to the method that you would use for debt payoff. You are ordering your debt with the highest interest first. So if you had debt of 10,000 at 15% and one at 5,000 at 4%, you would start paying off the one with the bigger interest rate. So Avalanche, think big to small. And the big to small is in terms of interest rate. So you'd want to know what you owe, and then you would order them with the bigger interest rate first, and you want to tackle that first. And then once you pay that off, then you want to move to the smaller one. Now, here's why I don't like the Avalanche method. For me, I am a list girl. I like to list. I like to check off my list, and I like to say what I've gotten done. And the Avalanche, think about if you have typically your bigger amounts or higher interest rates. So if I had a credit card of 20,000 with a 15% credit interest rate, and a small loan of say 5,000 with a 2% interest rate, the Avalanche says I'm focusing on the 20,000. So how long do you think it's going to take to pay that 20,000? It's going to take longer. So for me, the way I work, I like to be motivated by finishing things. And I like to say, oh, I'm done with this. Let me check it off my list. So for me, the Avalanche method doesn't work when you have a list of debt that the amounts vary and the interest rate vary a lot, because you are focusing on the one with the bigger interest rate, which is going to take a while longer to be reduced. And so if you are somebody who is motivated by goals completed, then the Avalanche might not work for you. Then the snowball method, think small to big. When you're rolling that snowball in the yard, and you get that little snowball and you roll it, and as you roll it, it gets bigger and bigger. Well, the snowball method is just that. You're starting with the smaller amount. So again, the Avalanche, you're starting with the bigger interest rate, the loan with the debt with the bigger interest rate. The snowball, you're starting with the debt with the smaller amount. That works for me because, as I said before, I am a list girl. I like to check off. I'm done. I paid when I was paying off my student loans, and it's not completely paid off, full disclosure. But when I started, I had a smaller amount, and I targeted that. And I said, I want to pay that off. And it was a party for me when I paid off that small amount. And now I can move on to the next one. So what you want to do is you want to determine what motivates you and what would make you want to pay off your debt faster. So the snowball, I started with the smaller loan, and then I went to the next one. So going back to the Avalanche method, you are targeting again the bigger interest rate. You're going to pay the debt, focus on the debt with the bigger interest rate, and you're paying the minimum of everything else. So if you had 3 loans and one interest rate is 15% and the others are smaller, you'd pay the minimum on those other 2, but you throw everything at the one with the big interest rate. For the snowball, you would pay the minimum on all the loans, with the exception of the small one. You throw everything at it. And I'm going to show you an example in a little bit, but I just wanted to share the basic concept of what the process, what the methods are. And then let's talk about the pros and cons of each. Now, the pro of the Avalanche is supposed to be saving on interest. So if you think about it, if you have a loan with a high interest rate and you focus on paying that off first, then you're going to save more on interest payments over the life of that loan, because of your combined loans. So you're paying off as much as you can of the one with the bigger interest. The downside of that is that you might not be motivated to continue the loan payment, the payoff journey, because now you just can't see the balance being reduced as fast as you want. For the snowball, the pro of that, the positive, is the motivation that you get when you can quickly check off that small loan and move on to the next one. And the downside is you may end up paying more interest over the life of your combined loans. So those are the pros and cons and reasons why you might want to think one or the other. Now I'm going to go in some more detail about some of the reasons why you might consider one over the other. I've done both. I've done the Snowball, and then I've done the Avalanche, depending on how close my loan amounts are, how close my interest rates are. Because again, personal finance is just that. It's personal. There are no fixed rules for, this, you have to use this method or that method. Hi, Beverly. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. So those, again, are the basics of the Avalanche and the Snowball. The pro for the Avalanche, you end up paying the least amount of interest over the life of the loan. The downside, it can be difficult to stay motivated because that amount may not move as fast as you want it to. And again, the pro for the Snowball method is, that it's a motivation of paying that small loan, and now I can move on to the next one. But the downside is that you may end up paying more interest over the life of the loan. And we're going to talk about that, paying more interest over the life of the loan. I'm going to show you an example, and show you why I think the Snowball is really your best bet, no matter what the amount and the interest rate. But let's think about also a couple of more things about the Snowball. When you look at the Snowball, you're not looking at interest rate. You don't care about interest rate. You are only looking at the smaller amounts to the bigger amount. For the Avalanche, you don't care about amounts. You're looking at only interest rate. You're saying, I want to get rid of this 22% interest rate debt. Then I'm going to move to the 15%, then the 10%. For the Snowball, you're saying, I want to pay off this 300, then I'll pay off the 800, then I'll pay off the 1,000. So that's how the Snowball and the Avalanche methods work. Now, before I start sharing some of the other things that should be considered when you determine which method you want to use, I want to, what I've been doing lately is introducing a little fun segment in when I interview guests. And today I'm the host and the guest. So what I want you to do is, those of you who are or in the chat, or those who are lurking and want to get in the chat, I promise I don't bite, that if you would post a question in the chat for me that I can answer. So a couple of the things that I've posted is, what I've asked my guests is, what kind of animal would you want to be and why? And another one is, if you had a book named after you, about your life, or named after you, what would the title be and why? So go ahead and think about something that you can post in the chat for me. And as soon as I get back from what I call my station identification break, then I will pick one of the questions, and please make it fun and not too difficult. And I will choose a question and a response. But for now, what I want to do is just invite those who have not subscribed to please, if you were seeing a red button, that means you have not subscribed. So please like the video, comment, and share if you are enjoying it and you think somebody else will. So please like, comment, and share and subscribe, so that the channel will grow and other people will be able to enjoy the content that you're enjoying. All right, so I am going to come back to your questions, see if there are any questions. Kathy says, I can attest she doesn't bite. Thanks for that. Thank you for that, Kathy. And hi, Sandy. I see Sandy join. And I don't remember if I greeted Beverly, but hi, Beverly. Thank you for joining us today. So I don't see a question in here. Nobody wants to give me a fun, challenging question that I can answer. All right. Well, let's move on then. All right. So the next thing I want you to think about is, as I said before, personal finance is just that. It's personal. So there are no hard and fast rule as to you must do this. The must is you must pay down debt. because it gives you freedom. The how depends on you. It depends on your personality. It depends on what your goals are. It depends on what motivates you. For me, my why is seeing my smallest loan gone and celebrating that and moving on to the next loan. So, whatever your why is and how you get to the end goal, it doesn't really matter as long as you have a why and you have a plan to get to the end goal. Couple of things to consider as you pay down your debt is variable interest rate. Now, even though the Avalanche is you're looking at the loans, the debt with the highest interest rate, and you're focusing on that, and then the next interest rate next lower, and then the next lower until the lowest interest rate, and the amount for the snowball, the smaller amount, then the next higher, and then the next higher. You want to think variable rate, because if you have a loan with a variable interest rate, it doesn't matter whether you're using the snowball or the avalanche. You want to get rid of that as fast as possible, because you don't want them to raise that rate on you, and then you end up with a rate that is not as manageable as the smaller one that they had. So you want to get rid of a variable interest rate loans, debts as quickly as you can. And another thing, again, is to not be so locked into one method over another that you miss opportunities as to ways that you can pay down your debt. Now, there are other ways to get rid of debt. There is bankruptcy, of course. So before you go talk to a bankruptcy lawyer, talk to a financial advisor, talk to a financial coach, talk to an accountant. And the reason I'm saying that is bankruptcy lawyers are in it to make money when you file bankruptcy. That's just it. That's a fact. So if you go to a bankruptcy lawyer, they're more than likely going to tell you to file bankruptcy. So you want to talk to somebody who can look at your numbers. You could, I have my link in the chat if you want to talk to me. Talk to somebody who can look at your numbers and help you maybe rearrange some things. Maybe you can do balance transfers. Maybe this is not something that I would promote as much, but if you are disciplined and you have a card that has maybe a 0% interest, and you can transfer your debt to that maybe for 6 months and get a breathing room of a high interest rate, then why not use that? Because again, the focus is getting rid of debt, and you get rid of it how you can get rid of it legally, of course. And another thing is personal loans. If you can get a personal loan with maybe 0 or very low rate from your credit union or something like that, then why not take advantage of that? Again, the main thing is getting rid of that debt. Whether you use the avalanche or the snowball method, is the bottom line is I want to get rid of debt. So how can I get rid of it? Now, Sandy said, can you restate the instructions? I came in late. No problem. I'll definitely do that. So basically what I'm saying is, the avalanche is where you are ordering your debt. You're getting your debt and you're ordering from the highest interest rate. So you're taking the loan with the highest interest rate and you are paying that one first. You're focusing on just the loan with the highest interest rate. So the 22% rate, you're paying that down no matter how much the amount is. You're not focused on the amount, it's the interest rate. Then maybe the next loan is 15%. So once the 22% one is gone, you're going on to the one with the 15%. And then the next one maybe is 10%. For the snowball, you're ordering your loans and you're saying this is the smallest amount. So maybe the loan balance is $300. So you're going to pay that off. Then you go to the next one, which is maybe say $500. Then you're going to pay that one. And the next one maybe $1,000. Then you're going to pay that one. So each time you're paying the minimum, whichever method, you're paying the minimum on those amounts. You're paying the minimum on everything but the one you're focusing on. So you're taking one and you're focusing on it. And then the minimum that you have, you're going to pay the minimum on all the other cards or all the other debt. Now I'm going to, let me share my screen, and I am going to show you why I think the snowball, you should just use the small snowball and focus on the smallest debt, because what I found is that there's not much savings if you use the Avalanche, where you're paying the biggest interest rate. Now, the only way that you would see big savings is if the Avalanche, the amounts are very close, the loan amounts are very close in amounts, and the interest rates are very close. Because if you take, I'm going to show you the example. If you take what I'm going to show you, you'll see that the saving is only $22 for these loan amounts. So let me share my screen real quickly. And let's go over here. We're going to go to, I don't know if you can see my screen. Let's see. Can you see where I'm sharing? All right. I don't know why it's doing that. It's not showing. Let me stop sharing and then go back and share again. So I made up some numbers for 3 different credit cards. All right, can you see my screen? Can you guys see my screen? Just somebody tell me yes. Okay, I'm going to assume that you can see my screen. All right, so I'm looking at the screen here, and what I did is I created 3 credit cards with 3 amounts. And what I did is, let me go back here. And what I did is I created, let me pull up this screen of what I created. I created 3 credit cards. One with a $5,000 balance, one with $10,000, one with $7,000. And I made up some interest rates. So I have a $5,000 card with 18.9 interest rate. And I created these calculations in bank rate because I don't have personal cards where I could put in here to have actual numbers. So I kind of created this. And based on the $5,000 balance, 18.9%, bank rate is saying that the monthly payment will be $200. And this is the amount will be paid over the life of the loan. So what I did is I took these amounts and I went to the debt snowball calculator. And once I put those numbers in, I'm going to go back up here. It told me that my payoff would be, I would be paid $880 for the month for those 3 credit cards. And my total interest over the life of the loan of the credit cards would be $4,000, and I would be debt free by August of 2023. Now I said I want to pay an extra $120. That's what I put in there. So that's where you're seeing this $1,000. So I added in $120, and it said, based on that, if I use the Avalanche method where I am paying the highest interest rate first. So again, I created those 3 amounts that I showed you before. If I paid off those credit cards using the Avalanche, which is the highest interest first, then my total that I would pay is in interest will be $3,911, paying an extra $20 per month, and I would save $845 and pay off the 3 cards 8 months faster. Now, if I chose the snowball, I'm going to click the snowball. If I chose the snowball, the amounts that I'm paying are the same, nothing changed. What I would be paying in interest is $3,933. Now, if you remember the first screen, the total interest I was paying was $3,911. And with the snowball method, I'm paying $3,933. And this calculator is in the description of the video, so you can always go in there and play with it. And so basically, I'm only saving $22 if I use the Avalanche method and pay the highest interest rate first. If I use the Snowball and pay the smallest amount first, check that off, and then move to the next higher, I'm paying $22 more in interest. So to me, $22, it's all up. It all depends on your goal. And again, these are made up numbers. So the numbers may end up being different for you because you may have a big variance in the amount of your loan and the interest rate on your loan. So let me stop sharing for that and go back to StreamYard, and I am going to pull up this here again where I made up these numbers. So the interest rates are fairly close and the amounts are fairly close. You may have a wider variance in your amounts and your interest rate. So you want to plug the numbers in the calculator that I have in the description and see what works for you. Play with it. Click on it and say, do I want to use the Avalanche method? Do I want to use the Snowball? You may change them up. You may say, you know what, for the next 3 months, I'm going to use the Snowball and I'm going to pay off the smaller loan. And then I'm going to move to the Avalanche, depending on what the amounts are on your debt and what the interest rates are. So again, you can move them around just because your goal is to pay them off. So whatever works. So let me see. I have some comments here. And this one says, okay, I don't know why the screen is doing this. Okay. Going with a rewards card or not, I don't know if you want me to share this on the screen, so I'll just, it's going to be like chat anyway. You can, what is it that you want? If you are going to be using a credit card anyway, you then determine, do I want to get cash back or do I want to get airline miles? So like for me, I have 3, what is it? I think I have 3 or 4 credit cards. I can't remember. But the thing is, I pay them off every month. What I do is I use my American Express and I use one of them for miles. I've had that forever and a day. And I use it for miles, but now we're not traveling, so I don't use it anymore. I use the one for cashback. And I have 2 Capital One Capital One MasterCards. I think it's a MasterCard. And I use those to grocery shop. One of them, I get 3% when I buy gas. And I think it's 2% or something when I go grocery shopping at like a Publix or a Kroger. So I use those. And I take the points and I apply it to my balances. So, what is it that you are wanting the rewards for? And how well do you manage your balances? Because I would not take a credit card out just for a reward. If you know you can use that to pay your mortgage, pay your rent, pay your groceries, and then at the end of the month, you pay it. And there are some credit card there. I have, I think 1 or 2 videos on credit cards, because what you want to do is when you have a credit card, you want to pay before the statement date, not before the due date, the statement date. Because the statement date is when they cut it off and send you your statement, and that's when they report to the credit bureau. So you can use their money and do what you need to do, get the rewards. But again, what do you want the rewards for? That will determine which one you use. And then you pay it before the statement comes. So when it reports to the credit bureau, it shows either 0 or a very, very low amount, because you want to keep your usage under 30%. All right, let me see. The other one says the interest on my cards are low. The interest may be higher. And another thing too, and I'm going to link the video that I did on credit cards and credit scores. If you have a card that says 20 years, you've had that for 20 years, and you get another card now, credit age factors in your credit score calculation. So if you get a new card now, it's going to bring down your age. So if you had one card that's 20 years old and that's all the cards you have, you get a card now, it's going to take 20 and it's going to divide it by 2. So now where your age was 20 years, now it's going to be 10 years because it takes the total cards divided by the total time you've owned the cards divided by the number of cards. And that's going to, your new age is going to drop. And it looks at your age based on your where you are in life. So if you're in your 40s and 50s, they're expecting that your credit age should be like in maybe 20 or something like that, 30. So it compares you to other people in your age group, and it's saying your age is too low. So it penalizes you. It's not a lot, but just keep things like that in mind. And let's see. I have another question here. I have two cards I'm paying on that, focusing on one and paying them. Yes, that's the best way to do it, is really focus on one and pay the minimum on everything else and just pay it, because there's such a, for me, it was such a euphoria when I paid off my first student loan. You know, like I felt like I could do anything because that small amount was gone. Well, small is relative. it was more than it was a lot. Okay, I think it was like 13,000 or something like that. So when I was able to pay that down, I felt euphoric because I had conquered one mountain, and so I knew I could conquer the rest. So you order your payment and how you want to pay off based on how you based on your personality and what motivates you to pay off debt. Because people have given up, they're starting paying off their debt, they get excited, and they've given up because they haven't seen a lot of movement in their debt. So you want to choose something that will cause you to stick with it, and always remember your why. Always remember your why. So let me see. Did I miss any questions? I don't think I missed any questions or any comments, but I hope this was helpful. Again, you want to think of the method that's best for you. What is it that you're trying to achieve? And you want to focus on that method that's going to give you the best, whether it's motivation or the best feeling, or what's going to cause you to continue to pay off payoff journey. Because again, debt freedom is such an awesome feeling. I'm not there yet, but I am certainly on my way there. And once I paid off one debt, and thank God the only debt I have is student loans. But once I was able to pay that first one off, it was an awesome feeling to know that there's one gone, and then here's the next one, and here's the next one, and here's the next one. So whether you're going to pay off the ones with the highest interest first, or you're going to pay off the smaller amounts, but create a plan, because it's bigger than paying debt. You have to know, how do I handle my money? Because a lot of people pay off their debt and they're right back where they were because they haven't changed their mindset. They haven't changed the way they approach debt. And that's the reason why you see so many lotto winners win millions of dollars and they're broke within a year or two, because it's about the mindset. What is it that I want to achieve, and how can I go about achieving it? Setting a goal, stepping back, taking emotions out of it, because you always want to take emotions out of any time you deal with money. Take emotions out of it, and what is the goal that I am trying to achieve? So I hope I answered all the questions. I did not see any additional amount. So please join us next Sunday. I will have a guest she's going to be sharing her payoff journey, her debt payoff journey, and she's going to talk a little bit about balancing working a 9 to 5, taking care of her kids, taking them to all their activities that they have to do, plus building a business. So she's going to talk about balance, as much as we can balance when we have so much going on in our lives. So thank you again, and I will see you next Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, if you would like to book an appointment with me, my information is in the description of the video. You can book a Pick My Brain appointment with me, and we can go over your numbers and create a plan to help you And even if you are not in debt, just help you to align your money with the goals that you have. So thank you, and have an awesome Sunday afternoon.